Guys, I'm Steve. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. If it's your first time stopping by the channel, hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you won't regret it. If you're a returning subscriber, as always, guys, welcome back, and I do appreciate the support. Guys, I want to show you something. Well, I'm going to talk to you about something that I thought was very interesting, and I want to share it with you regarding the Tyre Nichols verdict in the civil rights trial out there in Memphis, Tennessee at the federal building. And I think you guys will find this interesting. Now, you remember, a lot of people are talking about how these three officers, Demetrius Haley, Justin Smith, and Tyre Bean, didn't be found guilty on all four of those charges, right? Now, we all knew that. Smith and Bean was found guilty on one of the four counts. Demetrius Haley was found guilty, depending on which news outlet you look at, on two counts, but it was really three. But the one count that they weren't found guilty on was the deprivation of rights under the color law, excessive force. And that's the one everybody can't get over. But I want to show you something real quick. This is a reaction to what Memphians are saying about the situation and how, you know, they should have been charged with all four parts of the case. And I want you to pay attention to what's said in this article, because a lot of the small things we said as we built up to getting to the point we are where we want to go to this case, with all the videos I've done on this, you hear all of it come out. And I'm gonna show you one. I'm gonna tell you something at the end. So take a look real quick, and then we'll come back and talk this thing out.
It was the verdict seen around the country. 3 ex-Memphis police officers convicted on federal felony charges for violating the civil rights of Tyre Nichols. Thank you for joining us. I'm Kevin McNamara. 3 days after the jury made its decision, Memphians are still talking about Thursday's verdicts in the federal trial. ABC 24's Scott Mattis is in studio with their reaction.
Well, good evening. Those I spoke with all shared the same opinion. They believe the former Memphis police officers should have been found guilty in the death of Tyre Nichols. Saturday evening, Memphians are reacting to Thursday's verdicts handed down in the federal case against former Memphis police officers Tyre Bean, Demetrius Haley, and Justin Smith.
I feel like justice wasn't served, actually. I feel like that Tyre deserved better than that.
Bean and Smith were both found guilty of obstruction for their role in the traffic stop and beating of Tyre Nichols. Demetrius Haley was found guilty of deliberate indifference and deprivation of rights resulting in bodily injury. Haley was also found guilty of conspiracy to commit obstruction and obstruction. Some Memphians think the former officers should have faced stiffer penalties and don't believe justice will ultimately prevail.
If you team blue, you're going to have some type of protection on you. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like they're still being protected in some way. I don't feel like they're going to get the maximum sentence that they should get for the actual, crime that they did.
Nonetheless, while the Shelby County District Attorney's Office waits for a January sentencing for the 5 former officers, those I spoke with Saturday said they're waiting on the state case where they face charges of second-degree murder.
I'm hoping that the state do what they need to do for justice for Tyre.
Now, despite the reaction of those I talked to this evening, Nichols' parents said after the verdict was handed in, they were happy with the outcome. Sentencing in the federal trial will happen in January of 2025. Reporting in studio tonight, I'm Scott Mattis.
All right, guys, you've seen all of that stuff and what the people in Memphis are saying about the situation, how they feel it wasn't enough. And I honestly agree with them. And I'm going to show you something. Let's go down the line. We'll go with Demetrius. We'll go with him last. We'll go with Justin Smith, and we'll go with Tyre Bean first, and what they were found guilty of. They were found guilty each of 1 count of obstruction of justice for witness tampering. Basically, they falsified the police report, and they all corroborated a lie that Tyre Nichols was out of control and that he was the aggressor, right? Now, they were found guilty only on that. Out of the 4 charges, they were found guilty only on that, right? Which was strange. But when I was in there and I was watching closing arguments and following the trial, since it started, the lawyers have been putting Bean and Smith together. Even when they're talking about their client, they will mention the other client. And I think that was a defensive strategy that they held firm to, and it paid off for them, whether you like it or not. We talked about this in my live stream. They would mention them so much, it was almost like you was hearing the same person, even though it was two separate entities presented in the courtroom, sitting before the jury. Now, they were found that case, that count, obstruction of justice, all they got. And that's a heavy thing in the Fed. So it's not like they escaped, but they were found guilty of that. That was them. Now let's go to Haley. Looking at this whole thing, I told you guys before, Haley seemed like he was the one getting drugged through the mud. Remember, he was part of the Smash Brothers, him and Emmett Martin, who already took a deal, right? On 2 of the 4 counts. He pled guilty and turned state's evidence against these other 3. He was found guilty of 2 of the 3. Now, he wasn't there, and he testified against the other folks and told his part and how him and Haley was called the Smash Brothers and they run around kicking ass. We all knew that. He done left. Now, they're in the closing arguments, and when the verdicts come out, right? Haley was charged with 1 count of deliberate indifference, 1 count of conspiracy to witness tamper, and 1 count of obstruction of justice of witness tampering. So that was the same thing the other ones got caught with, witness tampering, falsifying police reports and all this other stuff. Now, the count that they did not get and what's upsetting everyone, I'm gonna try to explain it to you, is this count right here. Deprivation of rights under color of law and failure to intervene. They didn't get that. Now, if you're looking at it up here, color of law is basically when you're an officer and you're given power and you do that abusive power in the form of excessive force, which we all seen they did. How the jury did not come up with that, and it was a mixed jury, men, women, and people of different colors. How did they not come up with that after seeing that video over and over and over again? I don't understand. Now, granted, these people were not from Memphis. They wouldn't got these jurors from other places. But still, a blind man could see that these officers were out of order with the way they handled them. They kicked them, they beat them, they verbally disrespected them, and they never tried to stop each other when they were fighting on them and grabbing on them and all this other stuff, when we know he could have been handcuffed 40 or 50 times during that beating at the first stop, and, you know, the terroristic stuff at the first stop. The second stop, he could have definitely been handcuffed because he ran damn near a mile and he was out of breath when they caught him. So why they did that, I don't know. My personal guess, and this is just me, I think when they went in there and deliberated for them 6 hours, the main thing that it was talked about was that first count. I think they came to a guilty plea early on those last counts they gave them. I think most of the deliberation was that first count, over them being police officers and this and that. And I think at the end, during the closing arguments, I forgot which attorney it was, they were talking about how hard it is being a police officer and what you go through, and, you know, they get tunnel vision and they get this. And I think the jury brought that, and that's why they didn't get this thing. That's one. Another thing is, I think, you know, from sitting in the courtroom hours at a time and then taking breaks, they're getting bombarded with video and stuff, and it's getting played back and forth, and they was getting bombarded with so much stuff, it just blended into all one big thing. And they just was like, okay, this is what we see, this is what we don't see. Then the third thing, I think they just wanted to get out of there. And it sounds messed up because they are jurors, but if you had seen these people going in and out of the courtroom, they looked like they had enough. They were spent with this thing. That's why I said this might be a quick deliberation, and it was. People was tired. But either way, man, somebody's life was lost, and I just felt as though, I don't know how they got this messed up. But the reason why I'm doing this video is this. Haley. I don't know if you guys understand after looking at that video how close, and when I say close, I mean close. These 3 officers almost beat this trial. I want you to think about it. They did not get the deprivation of rights under color of law. Meaning they was police officers out of control and doing unnecessary stuff through excessive force and failure to intervene. It was right there on camera, and they did not get that. They did not get it. Now I want you to pay attention. Only thing they got is the conspiracy. What did I tell you a long time ago when we first seen the thing and they would say, oh, we're gonna bring the extra audio out to the public, and it never came out. We had to go and dig and find it. The reason why I said it's not what they did, because we saw all the stuff they did. And then they said it was hours of video that we didn't see after the beating part that was shown. It's not what they see, what we seen is what was heard after it was over. And now it takes us back to the point where, remember when Demetrius Haley was running his mouth telling the war story? Man, we was gonna have to kill that man. We hit him with so many pieces, and I was rocking him, Bean was rocking him. You remember? And he was like, oh, we might have to kill this man, and he died. That was telling to getting Smith and Bean arrested because they corroborated with it. Think about that. Haley did all the talking and all of this other stuff. Then when they went to internal affairs, they all corroborated before they went. Remember, they was texting each other? Hey, this, hey, that, this and that, this is what we did. They got caught on that. If Haley had not had ran his mouth at the end, they would have beat this. Think about that. Look at his charges. Conspiracy to witness tamper. He sent the pictures. Told the woman, we beat him up. Obstruction of justice for witness tampering. Other count. Think about it. He got 1 count. They all got the obstruction of justice because he was talking and they were standing there, and he told all of that stuff. That's wild. They almost got out of this. How? I don't know, but they almost got away. So him talking at the end is the reason why, and that being recorded is the reason why they're in jail right now. The justice system is crazy. It's crazy. And the thing that's crazy is I was there. This all fell on the jury. So I don't know how the jury's minds got mixed up to where this is what happened. But that most important one, the deprivation of rights under color of law for excessive force and failure to intervene, was the like they didn't get that. They were police officers and they were doing extracurricular stuff, or how people say they were doing too much, and they were, and it was on video, and people act like they didn't see it. I don't understand, but either way, man, they're caught. Now this next trial will have Memphis jurors, and this will be the big one, and I'll be there. We all going. You know, I'm taking you guys with me. So this thing is far from over. This was just the federal part, and it was a civil rights trial. It wasn't the murder trial. A lot of people getting it confused. But it's still some form of justice. The family's satisfied with it, that these guys are off the street and they're locked up. They're going through the incarceration process as we speak. But it's another part of this journey, and we're gonna ride with it. I'm Stock Market Steve for the Dynamic Reason channel. As always, like, comment, share, and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video. Justice for Tyre.